National Guard troops have been mobilized and are now on patrol. This comes after President Trump issued an executive order declaring a crime emergency in Washington, D.C., and placed the city's police department under federal control. Another 850 agents from the FBI, DEA, and Border Patrol also now policing the streets. Many D.C. council members have denounced the takeover, describing it as unnecessary and unprecedented.
Yo, what up, y'all? I'm back with another video. And I know that y'all are aware of what's going on in DC right now with the president taking over the police department and sending in the National Guard in order to protect the citizens of Washington, DC. That's exactly what has been going on in the news. And if you're not aware, well, now you are. And there are just some things that we as people should be able to sit down and agree on. But for some reason, there's a chosen few people who do not think logically. There's a chosen few people who do not see things like the rest of us see things. For instance, crime is rampant in Washington, D.C., but you have people who would like you to believe, who would like you to think that crime is not as bad as we make it seem to be. Crime is not as bad as they are reporting it. And so they have dropped some reports that shows that crime has decreased since 2024. Yeah, they have produced these reports that show this. Now, here's where things get tricky, right? One of the people who produced this report at the police station, I'm not sure exactly who it is, if it is the sheriff, if it was the commanding officer in the police station, I'm not sure yet. But it is said that they are under investigation because they falsified information. Yeah, and you know you get into a lot of trouble when you falsify information because it's basically lying. You're lying under oath. See, these people that were hired at this police station, they were supposed to do their jobs. They are public servants. They're supposed to serve us, but instead they are serving a higher power. Usually, whoever it is that is pulling their strings, which is usually the politicians. See, there's another side on the political spectrum of people that want you to believe that everything is fine just the way it is. People committing crimes, it's nothing. It's harmless. They want you to believe that crime is harmless. People running into stores and stealing things, it's harmless. Carjackings, harmless. Down to murder, harmless. Because they will allow someone who has shot another person in the chest to get off free and just give them probation. Yeah, y'all heard me right. My blood is boiling just thinking about it. Yes. Someone who shot another person in the chest and deleted them, they gave that person probation. Even though the DOJ tried to press charges on that person, the judge in Washington, D.C. gave them probation. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? There is a group of people in this country who just don't have it all there. And when I tell you that mental illness is a real thing, mental illness is a real thing because these people actually want you to believe that when you have these young boys running into your houses, you have these young boys carjacking, you have these young boys running into stores and stealing merchandise, you have these young boys fighting, these young boys jumping people, lynching people, these young boys following women home. When you have all of this going on in the city, it's harmless. It doesn't harm anyone. Give them a pat on the wrist. Whenever they get arrested, they get released right back out into the public to do the same thing. And a lot of these boys are what? They are not one-time offenders. They are not two-time offenders. They are repeat offenders. They do this on a regular basis. And so you have to think about something. Matter of fact, think like a criminal. Whenever you have a city, right, whose rules and laws are so lax on crime that they allow you to go in and out of prison for serious crimes, guess what you're going to do as a criminal? You're going to continue committing said crimes. Why? Because there is no punishment to it, especially the fact that there is no harsh punishments to your actions. And so you're going to continue doing the same thing. Then you recruit other people to do it. See, what they are doing out in Washington, D.C. is recruiting these young boys, 13, 14, 15, 16, to commit crimes. And once they get arrested, once they get caught, guess what? They get a pat on the wrist and they are right back out because they are young. They do not even press charges against them. And they don't press charges against them as adults. I have to agree with some people when they say that whatever age you are, if you commit a crime, I'm sorry, you should be dealt with. And you should be considered as an adult. They should press charges to the fullest extent of the law. I don't care how old you are, because you know better. See, when I was young and I was out in the streets doing stupid shit, guess what? I knew exactly what the consequences are. And I knew exactly what would happen to me if I got caught. But do you know what I did? I still continued to do the shit that I did because I wasn't caught yet. But once I got caught and I realized that this is not the life for me. This isn't the life that I want to lead. This isn't what I want to continue doing. And it was time for a change. I changed my life. Now, these young men in Washington, D.C., no, they're getting a pat on the wrist, especially for murder. Especially for deletion. You deleted someone, and what do? They give you a pat on the wrist and then you get probation for it. You used to get probation for drug offenses. Now you're getting probation for deleting someone else. That is just crazy to me, and I cannot fathom how another person would sit there on the bench and hit his gavel, giving a person probation after he deleted someone. That is just that's disgusting to me. But you know what's going on? Exactly what I just described. And if you don't believe me, then look it up, because I know some of y'all are going to say, where's the proof? Well, there's a lot of proof out there. Just look it up. Do the homework yourself. And so the president of the United States has what? He has taken over the DC Police Department, and he has sent the National Guard down there in order to assist, not to take over. He has sent the National Guard down there in order to assist with combating crime, which is running rampant in Washington, D.C. Another fun fact that you may not know is that when you look at the statistics, when you look at the stats and the numbers, right, at how high crime is in Washington, D.C., it is the highest amongst other capitals of other countries, including Mexico City. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Other countries have a lower crime rate than Washington, D.C. has. And this is supposed to be the greatest nation in the world? Are you kidding me? How are we the greatest nation in the world if the capital is being overran by criminals and no one is doing anything about it? If the mayor of Washington, D.C. is doing nothing at all about it? If the police department hands are tied and they cannot do anything about it? If you arrest someone and they let them right back out? How are we the greatest nation? We're not. And so this is exactly what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to bring it back to how things used to be, where you received the proper punishment for what you did. Now, here's some more fun facts that you may not know. A fatherless child is 5 times more likely to commit a crime or end up being poor. They are 10 times more likely to drop out of school and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. You heard me right, a fatherless child. Now, why did I say a fatherless child? Because it always comes back to the home. See, these young men in Washington, D.C. committing these crimes, they don't have fathers in their households. They don't have fathers in their lives. They don't have fathers directing them. They don't have a family. And so they look to these gangs. They look to the streets in order for protection. They look to these streets in order to get the love that they did not get from a father. They look to these drug dealers in order to get direction that they don't get from a father, because their fathers are absent. And no, you cannot say that a majority of these men just chose to walk out of their kids' lives. That is not the case. You want to know how? Because I'm one of those men who had to fight in order to see his son, and I know other men who had to do the very same thing. Because when it comes down to it, a woman will threaten you with your own kids. She will use your kids as a weapon. You don't want to be with her? Well, guess what? You can't be with your kids and you can't be in your kids' lives. And that's exactly what happens to a majority of these young boys. Yes, that's exactly what happened. And that's not to say these young girls don't need their fathers in their lives either, but they're also not the ones committing a majority of these crimes. It's these young boys. And so these young boys do not have any type of guidance. They need guidance. They don't have that guidance because their mothers are already working 8-hour, 12-hour shifts. So they're not at home to teach these young boys anything anyway. And not to mention, a woman cannot teach a young boy how to be a man. And so what ends up happening, that young boy looks to others. He looks outside of the home for direction. He looks outside of the home for leadership. And then he falls victim to these older men out here who prey on young men. Yes, they prey on young men. That's why you will have these 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old gang members talking about gang and talking about deleting other people and committing crimes and recruiting young kids. And then they have these young kids commit these crimes for them because they believe that these young kids will not suffer the consequences since the laws are so lax in Washington, D.C. So that's exactly what's been going on. And so we as people, we have to come to an agreement where we have to be tough on crime. That's just the bottom line. We have to be tough on crime. It doesn't matter what part of the political spectrum that you are on, whether you're a Democrat or you are a Republican, we all need to come together and agree. Come on, we can think logically now. We can think logically. We have to agree that if crime is bad in an area, then you have to increase the police presence. That's just it. You have to pay the police more if you have to. You have to increase the police presence and have them patrol the streets. And I guarantee you, crime will definitely decrease to the point where we will be a nation that is strong again, where we will be a nation whose capital has less crime than any other country. But as of right now, we are not that country anymore. And this is why we have to bring it back to how it used to be. See, I've even seen reporters that live in Washington, D.C. I've seen mothers, fathers who live in Washington, D.C., business owners who live in Washington, D.C. I have seen them come out and explain to us and describe to us how bad crime is out there. But you want to know what though? You have these news outlets who will report otherwise. Oh, there's nothing wrong with the crime there. These criminals, they don't know any better. We have to keep giving them chances. See, they are so lax on crime that it has become a problem now. Crime should not be a problem in a country that is supposed to be the richest nation, that is supposed to be the best nation in the world. It's not supposed to be a problem at all, but for some reason it is. And you want to know what that reason is? It's you, the people who actually advocate for letting these criminals out the system whenever they go in. You allow them to go into the system, then you bring them right back out. And so you have to think about something. A lot of the criminals who commit these crimes, they are repeat offenders. They were caught before and then they were let out to do what? Commit the very same crimes that they should have had time and they should be rotting in jail for. So don't tell me that Trump doing what he is doing with the National Guard and taking over the DC police is not a good thing for Washington, DC, because I promise you, give it a month, give it 2 months, you will see crime most definitely decrease. Carjackings will go down, robberies will go down, deletions will go down. Promise you that. Until next time, y'all stay safe.
If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content.